The detention chamber on Waystation Kelvor 9 stank of fear and disinfectant. Meera Dane stood at the back of the queue, arms crossed, watching the line of offenders shuffle forward toward the punishment platform. Most were adults, smugglers, brawlers, petty criminals, from a dozen species. But near the front, small and trembling, stood Cub Sorlik. The young Vraxian was barely 4 cycles old, his silver-striped fur matted with grime. His predatory eyes, which should have gleamed with the confidence of his apex species, were dull with terror. The collar around his neck buzzed intermittently, making him flinch each time. Meera had seen the incident in the market plaza an hour earlier. Sorlik had been hungry, desperately so, and had snatched a piece of synth meat from a vendor's stall. The Kelvorian guards had descended on him immediately, ignoring his panicked chirps of apology. They'd ignored something else too. The fact that the vendor had been deliberately taunting the cub, dangling food just out of reach while other customers laughed. Now the cub would receive 20 lashes from a neural whip. The same punishment as the adult criminals. The Vraxian species was feared across 12 sectors. They were apex predators, 7 feet tall when fully grown, with claws that could rend duralloy, and jaws that could crush bone. But this wasn't a predator. This was a child. Next, barked the guard. A bulky Kelvorian with 4 arms and a sadistic gleam in his compound eyes. Sorlik took one trembling step forward. His small claws scraped against the metal floor. Meera moved. She pushed through the queue with practiced ease, ignoring the protests of those she passed. Within seconds, she stood beside Sorlik, one hand on his narrow shoulder. "There's been a mistake," she said calmly. The guard's antennae twitched with irritation. "No mistakes, human. The cub committed theft. Punishment is mandatory." "I'm not disputing the crime," Meera replied. "I'm disputing the criminal. I committed the theft. The cub was helping me carry goods. When your vendor taunted him, I told him to take the meat. He was following my orders." The lie came smoothly. Around her, the queue had fallen silent. The guard's mandibles clicked. "Impossible. Witnesses confirmed. Your witnesses confirmed a cub took meat. They didn't confirm who gave the order." Meera pulled out her identicard, letting it scan. Her record appeared on the guard's wrist display. Meera Dane. Human. Freelance cargo specialist. No prior convictions, but 3 citations for interference with station protocol. The guard studied her with multiple eyes. Humans were rare this far from Earth's colonial sphere, and they had a reputation. They were neither the strongest nor the fastest species, but they were reliably, frustratingly stubborn. "You wish to take the cub's punishment?" the guard asked slowly. "I wish to take my own punishment," Meera corrected. "For my crime." Sorlik looked up at her with wide, uncomprehending eyes. His translator collar chirped softly. "Why?" he whispered in Galactic Common. Meera glanced down at him and smiled, though her heart was hammering. "Because someone should." The guard considered. Regulations were regulations, and if this human wanted to complicate her own life, that was her choice. "Very well. Cub Sorlik is released. Meera Dane will receive 20 lashes." A guard unlocked Sorlik's collar. The cub stumbled backward, free but confused. Another guard gestured for Meera to step onto the platform. She walked forward without hesitation, though every instinct screamed at her to run. The punishment platform was designed for durability, not comfort. She was directed to grip 2 handles while her back was exposed. The neural whip didn't break skin, but it would light up every pain receptor in her nervous system. "This is foolish, human," the lead guard muttered. "The cub would have healed faster." "Own." "Maybe," Meera said through gritted teeth, "but he wouldn't have healed right." The first strike hit like lightning down her spine. Meera's jaw clenched, but she didn't scream. By the 5th lash, her vision blurred. By the 10th, she tasted copper. By the 15th, her legs shook so badly she could barely stand. But she didn't scream. The other prisoners watched in silence. Some looked away. Others leaned forward, transfixed. Sorlik watched from the edge of the chamber, his small body rigid with something between horror and awe. When the 20th lash finally fell, Meera collapsed to her knees. The guards released her restraints, and she slumped forward, gasping. Punishment completed, the lead guard announced mechanically. Next offender. Meera barely registered being pulled off the platform. Her entire body felt like it was on fire. Too many hands helped her to the side of the chamber where a medic waited with a dermal regenerator. As the device hummed over her back, slowly numbing the pain, a small shape appeared beside her. Sorlik sat on his haunches, his predatory eyes now bright and focused. He didn't speak, but he pressed something into her hand. A small, carved stone. Crude, but clearly made with care. It was a Vraxian custom, she realized dimly. A death stone. You didn't have to do that, the medic said quietly, a centaurian with kind eyes. Yes, I did, Meera replied, closing her fingers around the stone. Why? The medic pressed. You don't even know this cub. Meera looked at Sorlik, who stared back with an intensity that belied his age. She thought about all the things she could say. About justice. About fairness. About how punishing a child for being hungry wasn't justice at all. But in the end, she settled for something simpler. Because someone had to show him that the galaxy isn't entirely terrible. That someone, somewhere, gives a damn. The medic shook his head but said nothing more. As the queue resumed and the sounds of punishment filled the chamber again, Sorlik remained beside Meera. He didn't leave until she could stand on her own. And when she finally walked out of that detention chamber, limping but upright, she carried the weight of a death stone. And the knowledge that somewhere in the galaxy, a young predator would remember the human who stood in his place. And perhaps, one day, he would stand for someone else.